दोस्तों, आई एम बैक। मैं हूं आपका दोस्त मदन सिंह एंड मैं आपके साथ बात करने वाला हूं अबाउट द अघोरी क्लैन। नाउ व्हाट इज द अघोरी? अघोरी आर ए सेक्ट ऑफ हिंदुइज्म विच फॉलो स्ट्रेंज रिचुअल्स, बहुत बहुत स्ट्रेंज रिचुअल्स। एंड इनके जो रिचुअल्स होते हैं दे आर इन द ग्रेवयार्ड, बट दे आर सेंक्टिफाइड by hundreds and thousands of years of usage and custom of the Hindu religion. Now, this is a very important point. Try to understand it. They are not part of mainstream Hinduism, but they are a form of Hinduism, a sect which is distinct, and they are supposed to have extraordinary powers. और ये भी फैक्ट बात है। मैं अपना एक्सपीरियंस भी आपको बताऊंगा अघोरी के साथ का। एंड अघोरी जो है दे आर एक्चुअली वैष्णवाइट्स, बहुत पुराना इनका कल्चर है। एंड दे आर फॉलोअर्स ऑफ शिवा, but not the Shiva which is the general one जो अब शिवलिंग है उसको नहीं फॉलो करते वो। They follow काल भैरव who is the fierce form of Shiva. अब काल भैरव के मंदिर भी हैं सेपरेटली, and one of the most famous one is in उज्जैन। और इस मंदिर में मैं जाके देखा हूँ, आप देख के आइए। इट इज समथिंग यूनिक इन द सेंस कि ये जो गॉड है ही लाइक्स एल्कोहल, और इनके ऊपर एल्कोहल जो है चढ़ाई जाती है। सो पीपल टेक द बेस्ट ऑफ स्कॉच विस्कीज, बाय फॉर द deity, take it to the temple, that is the temple of Kaal Bhairov, and the whiskey is put in a plate and held up to the lips of the god, and lo and behold, the god drinks it. Yani, ye jo whiskey है, it vanishes. Now somebody told me, this is a law of physics. This is surface tension. Arey bhai, it's not so simple. So many scientists have come, they have tried to study what this happened, and they couldn't find out where the whiskey goes. Kahan jati hai wo? But the belief is, I'm not saying it is sacrosanct or it's true, the belief is that it is drunk by the god. And there was one man whom I knew who was a follower of Kaal Bhairav, and his name was the Dabral Baba. So gentlemen, ये एक बहुत ही यूनिक फीचर ऑफ हिंदुइज्म है। आई विल नॉट गो इनटू द intricacies of this, but ये जो rituals करते हैं, they do it in the graveyard. They do it in the graveyard among the ashes of the dead people who have been cremated. And they are a very powerful lot of people. They know a lot of things, a lot of mantras, and you can do some impossible things with them. And like impossible things means, if there's a barren woman, she can conceive if you beat the Agori. And what these Agoris do, they have sex in the graveyard. Now ये तो बात आप will find it very unique. Graveyard में sex करते हैं, and they do the sex on the ashes of the people who have died, who have been cremated, and then there's recitation of mantras all around, and this act finally leads to procreation in the sense that the woman becomes pregnant. Now ये एक फैक्चुअल बात है। मैं एक बार उज्जैन गया था। मैं, आप जानते हो, जब फ्रीक्वेंट विजिट टू उज्जैन, I meet the Liberal Baba there also, and I used to meet and go to the temple of Kaal Bhairav. And एक मुझे होटल में मैं रुका था, and I met an American lady. She was about 30 odd years of age. So it was at breakfast time. I found she was sitting alone, so I just went up and said, "May I join you, madam?" She said, "Yes, I don't mind." And we sat down and talked. And it turned out that she had come to meet the Kaal Bhairav temple, the deity. So I asked her, "If I may ask you, would you mind telling me?" She was very frank. She said, "I've been told that a barren woman can communicate if she cohabits with the Agori, and I have come for that purpose." That was the end of it. I didn't believe her at all, and I said, "ये तो गलत बात होगी. I don't think it's true." I didn't want to tell her this, but this is what I felt. But gentlemen, ये पोजीशन याद रखिएगा कि ये जो बातें मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, there is no explanation for it. There is no scientific explanation. It is the richness of Hinduism which gets it. And let's make it very clear, I'm not a Hindu, I'm a Sikh. And we do not believe in such rituals and things like that. But then I don't know what the evidence is. The evidence is that such things do happen. And who's going to explain why it happens, how it happens? Now, the Aghori are a very ancient sect, as just मैंने आपको बताया, and they are the form of pure Hinduism. But they are very few in number, and आजकल वो they are becoming extinct, like the dodo, the bird which became extinct. So these people are also becoming extinct. They are going away from this world, and the Aghori clan is dying off. But there are a few people who are still continuing this ancient rituals and practices by word of mouth. This has not been scientifically put on the computer yet so that people could generalize and see what's happening. But the fact remains that these people have some astounding powers. And they are the followers of Kaal Bhairov, the fierce form of Lord Shiva. Now, the Aghori are a very distinct set, and they are maybe 15, 20, 40 in number. They stay together and they do their prayers and rituals always in the graveyard. Now, why they should do in the graveyard? Well, I do not know. But if you look at the deity that is Kaal Bhairav, he has all skulls around his neck and he has a very fierce look, he's not a peaceful god. But this is a sign that Lord Shiva is the creator as well as the destroyer. So maybe Kaal Bhairav comes in the category of the destroyer. Now, in this Ujjain temple, this Aghori clan were there, and I was very keen after meeting this lady to meet the Agori. तो मैंने पूछा, I asked a lot of people, मैं तो अघोरी से मिलना चाहता हूँ. They said ऐसे तो नहीं मिल सकते, you can't meet them जब तक you get the approval of the clan. That is, the clan has to approve you come. So a message was passed that here is a military officer who is an Air Force officer, and he holds a senior rank, and he wants to come and be a part of the Agori for one night. So after some time, I got a message that, well, yes, you can come, but you will come here and you will obey everything which we tell us. And the day and the time you refuse, you will be turned out from the congregation. I reached the Agori place where they were going to do their rituals, and it was the graveyard. I felt a little, the Hindu crematorium ground reaching there. Because normally you don't go to such places just like that for the heck of it. I went there, and because that's part of my psyche, I won't tell you anything, but if you look at my hand, I've got the mystic cross in my hand. And the mystic cross means I'm interested in mysticism and I have myself perhaps achieved some level of mysticism as well. I won't dwell on that now, but the cross, the mystic, is in my hand, and that is one of the reasons it's God ordained that I meet such people. Earlier, I met the Dabral Baba, and he told me that you will have a very successful time. Please, you go and meet, give your bless, give your, you know, supplicate yourself before the deity that is called Bhairav. Now, when I reached the graveyard, I parked my car and walked in. It was a moonlit night, and absolutely the entire crematorium ground was bathed in sunlight, in moonlight. And I found about a dozen of the Aghoris, and they were all naked. They were absolutely naked, and they were really very fierce looking. They had, you know, covered themselves with the ashes of the dead, and they were waiting. And then I was really surprised that one American girl came. I wouldn't say she was a girl; she was a middle-aged woman, and the ritual commenced. There were tom-toms, singing of songs, reciting of mantras, and then somebody came to me and gave me a glass of a peculiar brew. Later I tasted it. I found it was maybe opium. It was maybe mixed or alcohol, and I began to sip it, and soon I began to also feel very buoyant in my mood that this is what is going to happen. And suddenly I was absolutely over the hill. I won't describe what happens further because I don't think it's um proper for me to say what happened. But let us say that there was a ritual of the act was conducted by about four men with this American girl and lady, and afterwards she was dressed up and taken away by another lady Agori. There are some ladies also there. And next day in the hotel again, I had met this lady. I mean, she was not the one which I met last time. She was a different one. And she'd seen me and the temple as well as the graveyard. And she asked me, "What were you doing there? Were you also a member of the Agori?" I said, "No, I'm not a member of the Agori. I was there as a visitor." She said, "Then you're a fraud." I said, "Wonderful. How can you say that? Part of life." And so, gentlemen, I was one of those persons who really decided that I must ask this woman a question. And what was my question I'm going to ask her? I want to ask, are you going to get your wish? And what's your wish? She said, I can't tell you. You have seen what's happened. Probably you can guess. That was the end of it. I never saw her again. And I said, in case you are successful, please email me. Just say yes, successful. And gentlemen, after I think about 4 months, I did get an email and it said, yes, successful. That means the ritual act, which the medical science had not been able to explain, the Aghoris had overturned it, and probably the lady was with a child. Now, it's a very difficult proposition to say why it is, whether it's true, it's a coincidence. I mean, there's nobody you can deny or nobody you can prove anything. But the Aghori are separate lot. And then another thing is, earlier we were told that they also used to eat the flesh of human beings, and the dead who had died. But I think that's stopped now; it's not there. And most of the time, the Aghoris are greatly reformed, and they do a lot of ritualisms, prayers, and their power of the clan keeps on increasing. And some of them have developed telepathic powers. When I tell you telepathic powers means they are in a position they can read your mind. That's the possible thing, man. They can read your mind with your thinking. I remember when I was in this Agori man and I sat down cross-legged and I started praying to Guru Nanak, and the Aghori came and said, "आप पूजा कर रहे हैं मन में?" That means, are you praying in your mind? I was really taken aback. Or maybe it was guesswork or whatever you can call it. But the fact remains that he was able to tell me a lot more things, and I didn't want to tell him that. He also told me something about desire, and I will not discuss that here also. And then she also told me that, look, previous births, you've been a soldier all the time, and last time you died in 1940. I didn't know what to believe it or not to believe it. Maybe it could be just, making a statement, and you won't know whether it's true or false. It's a statement, but all the same, the very fact that he knew about these things is one of those very terrible things that happen. I would say it was a very, very illuminating thing. So, gentlemen, this is just a brief visit into Agori, a clan which believes in ritualism of the dead. They are the followers of Kaal Bhairov with the fierce form of Shiva. And, gentlemen, I think a lot of study is called here. The sad part is that the Hindus themselves don't know their own scriptures. And it's a very sad thing again that the laws of Manu were not translated by any Hindu from the original language. It required a Britisher to come to India and translate the laws of Manu. And he's now buried in the non Christian cemetery in Calcutta. So, gentlemen, I'll just come to the end of my video. I hope you like this facet into a different form of Hinduism, the Kaal Bhairov, and you will come back to my channel. Please subscribe to it, share it with your friends. I look forward to it, and I'll say goodbye. God bless and take care. Well, if you're keen to meet the Agori Jen, That's the only place I can tell you. And go and pray in the temple dedicated to Kaal Bhairov, and then you probably will get an insight into the future and into your past or your previous birth. And maybe if you have a wish which cannot be fulfilled, and if uh, the Aghori feel they should help you, they will help you. Goodbye, gentlemen. God bless. Take care.